set up 3 now Ahmedabad, Chandigarh and Mumbai. The then largest, but now, it was 350,000 square feet, but they are all small now. India has grown. They're all talking about millions of square feet. Bombay, newest mall is around 4 million. I believe the Lulu mall is also 3 million or so. While being there, I got the opportunity to meet Mr. Nikhil Meswani. He was the executive director of Reliance. I got talking, was explaining what we were doing. Left it there, said goodbye, had a great conversation, and we left. 4 days later, I got a call from his office. I was asked to meet Mr. Mukesh Ambani, and I was recruited as head of retail rollout for Reliance, not the current retail, the telecom retail rollout of 2002. Great opportunity. Again, an example of how important, talking and meeting people are. How things may come back to help you in your life. I got that opportunity. It's the greatest opportunity that I have had, because the scale of rollout, I would never get it anywhere else. The scale, money was available, resource was available, people was available. I set up 999 retail stores in 535 cities. I logged 6 lakh miles on jet airways. You can imagine in 2 years. That miles took care of my travel for the next 2 years after I quit Reliance and was setting up ambulance project. Anyway, while being there, 2 incidents happened, which is what triggered this social entrepreneurship. My mother choked in her sleep. I stay here, close to 2 kilometers from here. At night, we did not know how to react. I did not know, if someone chokes. How many knows what do you do if someone chokes? Anyway, that's another but it's a small thing which you may want to learn in life. But I was exactly like you. I did not know. My father did not know. My brother did not know. We put her in the car, drove her to City Hospital on MG Road. By God's grace, she survived, but she was in ICU for 3 days. Exactly 7 days later, my best friend's mother, Vaila Ravi's wife, collapsed in Manhattan, in New York. While walking, she just collapsed. And in 4.5 minutes, an ambulance came, picked her and took her to the emergency room. So Ravi rushed there, Ravi as in Ravi Jr. rushed there. And we were talking about this. I was saying, no, Ravi, you are so lucky. Your mother got picked up by an ambulance in 4.5 minutes. We had to rush my mom in the back of the car. And that is where we started thinking, why are there no ambulance services to call in India? That was a trigger point. So we started thinking about it. Ravi came back. Angie unfortunately is no more now. She passed away 3 years back because of kidney related issues. We started talking and saying that, can we do something about it? Why don't we go meet some political leaders, bureaucrats, and say, ambulances are running all around in the developed world. Why can't we run it here? So we thought that we are going and telling political leaders something very good for the society. The insensitivity, and believe me when I say this, both Ravi and I am fairly networked in the political community. It didn't make any difference to anybody. Ambulance in the law, then I that was the response. So we got fed up. And bureaucracy was even worse. I always hold the political leaders are not the bane of India. It is the bureaucracy which takes India to the backward. Anyway, we got together and we said, what can we do? So we pitched it to a large group of friends, around 30 friends, and said, can we do something in this? So 5 of us, 3 others got together and said, yeah, let's do something. We'll put some money and maybe start a foundation. Honestly, we were going to start a foundation. We started doing research, internet basically internet research. Then I went to London, connected with London Ambulance Service. We went to New York with New York Presbyterian Hospital. So we started getting to know what an ambulance service is. Otherwise, we had seen it in our college days in US, but we did not know what it took to run an ambulance service. Then we realized that this is a pretty complex thing. It's not about having 10 ambulances or 100 ambulances or 1,000 ambulances. It's about positioning ambulances ideally, optimally, making sure that the geography is mapped. The nearest ambulance, I just saw somebody going out with blood from this while I walked in. Somebody who cut his hand. There's a hospital right across, so we don't have to worry. But if there was no hospital right across, what would you do? The only choice before us in Cochin is get into a car, call a car, at night, if you're not lucky enough to have a car, wake up your neighbor, call your relative and take somebody to a hospital. So we realized that this is a complex thing. And we were trying to figure out how to go about it. We registered a foundation. We were going to put our money into the foundation. We ran into Sam Petroda. And with Sam, we were pitching it. I was pitching this to Sam, and he said, "You young man, you mad or what? One more foundation? This country, you can't walk around without stumbling on a foundation in this country. Why can't you start it as a company?" I said, "Sam, it's a noble thing that we are trying to do." "Why? You can't do a noble thing in a company? Are you one of the communists from Kerala?" I said, "No, my life goal is to fight the communists." "What's wrong with you then? Why are you saying as a profit is such a, why are you stigmatizing profit?" That is when it stuck to me and Ravi. It's not a bad idea to do it as a company. So we reversed gears, we registered a company, we coined the name Chikitsa. 2 Sanskrit words, Chikitsa for medical treatment and Jikyasa, quest for knowledge. Anglicized it, got a ZIQIT today, Chikitsa Healthcare, put 10 lakh rupees, bought 1 ambulance, took a loan of another 10 lakh rupees to furnish it, and 20 lakhs we put the best ambulance at that time in India, modeled on London Ambulance Service, advanced life support ambulance, and put it in Bombay. Exactly like the bowling alley, we said, wow, we have put the best ambulance in Bombay. Now the patients will start calling and we will start rolling. 1 day passed, 2 days passed, 3 days passed, 10 days, forget call. People will come and look at this ambulance and, they won't run away, but they'll walk by the side. That is when we realized that medical care in India doesn't work like that. Calling an ambulance also requires a commission to be paid. Either the doctor or the telephone operator in the hospital or the watchman in the hospital or the receptionist in the hospital. This corporatish ideas and all textbook ideas doesn't work on the ground. What to do? At that time, none of the 5 of us had the guts to quit our jobs. I was continuing in Reliance. Ravi was in UB. My 3 other friends were respectively in GE, Tatas, and Birlas. So evening, one of us will come in the Marine Drive area and sit and try to deal with it. Nothing happened. Then we changed gears. We had decided one thing, by the way. We decided that in our ambulance we will not carry dead bodies. We said that our ambulance is to save life. We will not carry dead bodies. You have to understand one thing. At that time when we were mapping the market, 95% of revenue of ambulances in India were coming from transportation of dead bodies. Even now it is like that. In Kerala, when we mapped in 2004, there were 67 ambulances with body freezers and only 4 ambulances with advanced life support facilities. Because there's no revenue for an advanced life support ambulance, nobody calls it. But body freezers, you need body freezers to take bodies. So interesting, right? 10th day, everybody back to panic mode. I'm in the bowling alley, pizza corner mode. You know, it's time maybe, even before we start, time to get out. At least we can sell this to somebody and get out. But then we got together and we said, no, let's try a different thing. Let's go individually to all the physicians there and do direct marketing. You know, and we'll go put up posters in each clinic, meet the doctors, excite them with anything other than paying commission. So I was in Fund Republic, so multiplexes were there. We would get movie previews, you know, I mean all the Bollywood previews. We said, let's call these guys for a movie preview, let them get. We will not pay commission, but everything else in the marketing world we will do. And slowly but surely we started getting calls. We added one more ambulance, and in 2005 May, we pulled in 1 crore 80 lakhs more and launched it as a service with 10 ambulances in Bombay. So that is important actually. So if you see this as a Bombay map, all the ambulances will not be here. It would be optimally placed all around the city. The ambulances are tracked using GPS. So in the control room, you know exactly where the ambulance is and ambulance movement. So when a call comes, the nearest ambulance is dispatched. One more thing we did, we decided that we will not paint the ambulance white. 2 reasons. One, we got a tie-up with London Ambulance Service. They were using yellow and green. So the reason was yellow and green is the best color combination in with reflective stickers in night to see in fast high-speed transportation. Second, we said we have to, you know, I mean, we don't transport dead bodies. So let us change it. You know, I mean, if you have white, people will still think that it's yet another dead body transfer vehicle. So that is a branding thing. Just give me the phone so that I know the time. So we started with a service. There was a control room. In between, we all went and spent, all 5 of us went and spent between 1 to 3 months with either London Ambulance Service or New York Presbyterian. Another learning, I'm just pausing and saying learning. The learning is, if you can learn processes, learn it from others. There's no point in trying to reinvent the wheel that already exists. You know, I mean, if there is a platform, you know, I mean, if you're in software or something, you know, I mean, an example is, if there are certain learnings pre-existing, learn it and then build on it, instead of trying to reinventing from scratch. It helped us start the service, stabilize it, and implement the world's best processes easily than if we would have had to do it on our own and stumble, then correct ourselves, etc., etc. From there, we did, you know, I mean, we started growing. Slowly we started growing, and 2007, again, you know, in one of the conferences, it's very important for an entrepreneur to keep networking, because you get to know people who may be helpful to your business and to your life while you network and keep connecting with people. We ran into a CEO of a fund called Acumen Fund. It's a social venture fund based in New York. It's a different idea. Pure venture capital fund, but the funds that come into that are all not-for-profit funds. That is, they pool amounts from not-for-profit foundations and have created a fund who invests in ventures, but with a social cause. They only invest in either health, education, or something which socially also impacts. So we started saying, and we said we are running this ambulance service. They got interested. They started doing a due diligence. Took almost 6 months. 2007 April, they invested $1.5 million into this company. Two things. We had only invested 2 crores. We had 10 ambulances. Out of the 2 crores, the ambulances had almost run for 1 year. 7 crores I think at that time is in Indian rupees. All 5 of us were thrilled. Somebody finally believed in our idea, right? I mean, till that time, everybody, we didn't even tell. I mean, of course, our close family we would say. Other people we wouldn't say. I especially wouldn't say because after the bowling and pizza corner, people in the circle had written me off. So I decided that this is the best time to keep quiet. 7 crores invested. Got the money transferred into the account. He came here and said, I came here, Ravi went to his house and said, we've got 7 crores of capital into our company. What do you think is the expectation, the reaction of our respective fathers? Vailarji just blew his top off. My entire life I have not done anything wrong. Where did you get this 7 crores from? So he said, it's the world's best social venture fund. They have invested after a 6-month due diligence. The best lawyers, best auditors have checked us out. He called my father. So I am trying to explain to my father and I am also not succeeding. My father is saying, Shafi, I understand that it is all correct. But just show me the mathematics of it. 2 crores you invested in 10 ambulances. Ambulances have run for 1 year. That means it is depreciated. 25% depreciation if you take. You won't get that although you will only be able to get 1 crore if you sell that. But okay, I give you 1 crore 50 lakhs as the depreciated value. How will some company come and pay you 7 crores for 30% of your company? There is something wrong. I love to call my father. We had a huge problem trying to convince our respective from the Marwadi 3 friends, our 3 other colleagues, they were quite happy. The Marwadi families were fascinated. You guys are on the right track. Beautiful. If we put this much money, 18%, so many years it will take to reach here. This is beautiful what you're doing. Then I had to go to Venugopal Singh Govind of Varma and Varma, who's like a good mentor. And I told Uncle, please try and explain to my father and Vailarji about what. Only after Venugopal Singh Govind told my father and Vailarji did they accept that we didn't do anything wrong. Anyway, from there we increased to 100 ambulances. In between, another thing happened. So another learning, I'm just pausing so that you know what the learning is. Again, the networking came into play, the ability to raise capital. We could only have 2 crores from our friends and family, by stretching. But when the fund came in, they came in with 7 crores, first round. So for each of you to scale, to go beyond the first step, and that's what I want to tell you, Dr. Vataneri, is that when you have a model, at some point you need to bring in a venture fund or a private equity, which will help. In Ayurveda, Acumen itself has invested in Ayurveda. There's a chain by the name Ayurveda. Acumen has invested around $2 million. So another issue happened. Now this is another thing. World will not be kind to you. While we were launching this service, we get a call through a contact from Mr. Ramalinga Rajan. We are fascinated, the darling of Indian IT. And He says he wants to talk to one of the 5 promoters. So I said, no, I'm going to talk to him. So we fix up a time, we get on a call, his 2-3 team members are there. He wants to replicate, he says, I want to replicate this in Hyderabad, what you guys have done in Bombay. So we said, wow, we have got equity. Now Ramalinga Raju believes that we are doing the right thing. And innocently we said, fascinated, and he said, we will do whatever you want. You please send your team. Their team came and saw what we were doing. And we just opened our books and rooms and our small control room, everything, saying that whatever we knew, we downloaded to them. 4 months later, they decided to launch in Hyderabad with 30 ambulances. And we had a major disagreement with his team, not with him. Of course, we had only 3 meetings with him. After that, only his team was interacting. The disagreement was this. He said, you can provide fees, you can provide service free to the poor people, but to people who can afford, you should charge fees. And we were following that. If somebody was going to a private hospital, you would charge a high fees. Somebody going to the government hospital would get a 50% subsidy. And somebody who is unaccompanied or unconscious or does not have ability to pay gets the service free. That is how we were giving. But they decided to give it free, and they said it's a giving back to the city of Hyderabad, his, where he achieved success. So we parted ways, and they were doing on their own, we were doing on our own. And I took a sabbatical of 1 year to go to Harvard on a fellowship. While away, next thing that we know is that in 1 year, Ramalinga Raju has signed contracts with state governments, 10 state governments, where his NGO is being paid huge sums of money for both capital expenditure and operating expenditure of this service. And they run the service, government pays for it. So I'm talking to my colleagues, but I'm abroad. By the time I come back, 10 states signed up. They're much bigger than us. They're running, when I came back, they're running 800 ambulances. We are at 90 or so. And I started digging up some little bit of information on how things are. This is another learning. While however nice you are, while building an organization, there are some things which you have to protect. Processes, protocols, for software, IP, etc. Or you have to be very upfront about it. You're not running a business. You're in the business of charity or facilitation. Then it's okay. You can give everything away. But if you're in a business, we could have, whatever we had taken 2.5 years to learn, we just handed it over on a golden platter to Raju's team, where they could compress their entire rollout to 4 months. And of course, he had much more capital at that time and much more connections. Anyway, I come back and see, while it costs us between 95,000 to 95,000 rupees a month to run our service, the really, really good standards. His foundation is charging between 1,60,000 to 2,20,000. I said, this is ridiculous. So again, we went around talking to the governments, but who cares? Who is this nuisance who's coming? Get him out. No help. What we did was, that's when my law networking came in handy. Kochi University, there was a number of young graduates from Kochi University who were my classmates who were practicing in Delhi. We pulled all of them together, researched this, documented this, and filed a PIL in the Supreme Court. We made some mistakes also in the PIL. Silly mistakes now looking back. We were so angry about it that the honorary chairman of this foundation was APJ Abdul Kalam. So when we filed the petition, we filed against, Raju, the foundation and all trustees, including APJ Abdul Kalam, then Government of India, all states of India. There were some 50 respondents. So it came up for hearing, and Dr. Rajiv Dhawan, who is a commissioned lawyer, he agreed to appear for free. He bought into it, saying that this should not be done. So Rajiv Dhawan is presenting to the bench. Chief looks at this. You want this court to issue a notice to the former president of India who appointed me to this court? So, silly mistake, but court took notice of what was wrong. Court issued notice September 2008. The first red flag against Ramalingam. September 2008, this PIL notice came. October, E. Sridharan raised issues about Hyderabad Metro. November, the merger attempt of Maytas with Satyam. And January 6th, Satyam collapses. So, all I'm saying is another learning. At that time, 2008, we were tiny people. Satyam was at that time about $2-3 billion. They had grown to 800 ambulances. All money we had was this 2 crores which was invested plus 7 crores which had come in as capital. There was no way we could have competed against Satyam. But there comes a way. If you stick to things and if you're persistent, it comes. The door opens for you, and that is what happened. Anyway, with the PIL, the best thing happened. Tenders started opening up. The state started, instead of giving to them, said, we will now tender out. And out of the 7 tenders which came out, 5 we won. Now, in the last few years, we have grown. We now run around 860 ambulances, 4,000 employees. Every day, we serve 4,000 people. Every year, last year, we delivered 3,600 babies on board the ambulances. Can you imagine? This happens every day we deliver babies in Rajasthan and Bihar, because that's given. But even in Kerala, we have delivered 80 babies in Trivandrum and Alapi. So this is another learning. So this is basically, I would like to stop now. We raised a second round of funding, another $3.25 million, where the world's largest ambulance company, which was a $3 billion company in US, called Emergency Medical Service Corporation, which was New York Stock Exchange listed. They just went private. They came in and took 9.8% in this small company. Acumen invested a second round. Then India's 3 blue chip financial institutions, HDFC, IDFC and India Value Fund invested. HDFC, IDFC and India Value Fund, I consider them investing in us more important than the world's largest ambulance company investing in us. I'll tell you why. Because HDFC invests only on integrity. For them, integrity is non-negotiable. For IDFC, integrity is non-negotiable. So to go around and say that HDFC is an investor in us, IDFC is an investor in us, radiates that this company doesn't cut corners. Our numbers are clean, our operations are clean. We have at last count 18 cases filed in different high courts in the country, 12 cases in various lower courts in the country. It's not easy doing business without paying bribes. But there is a way. There is a way. We are stuck to it. We fight it. Sometimes we have lost it also. We lost the Maharashtra contract only because, and I'm saying this, I hope so nobody's recording it. It's a Congress NCP government. But it's clearly wanted a